Oh my gosh. Of course, my camera. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Oh, and she's not turned on. That's why. And there we go. There we go. Oh, it's so unprofessional. She has her lamps the wrong color. Her hair is a mess. Y'all, I am so sorry. This stream tonight, I had every intention in my head this morning of being like, you know what? I'm doing my stream early. I'm waking up early to watch the episode. I'm going to do my stream early. Everything will be set up. Like, we won't have to go so late. I'll be able to go to bed early. And, no matter how much I tell myself that I know how long it takes to cook chicken, I don't, is the funny part. And so I literally have my dinner sitting in front of me. So there may be a couple BRB breaks while I slowly eat it. I won't do it on camera. That's gross. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to subject you to that. But I did put on my makeup so that we could yap about episode 9 of The Summer I Turned Pretty. How does that sound? Also, I'm having some issues with my music currently. So apologies that I don't have that up and running. But how is the sound? Oh, I look sweaty. Oh, also, guys, we may have to retire the Team Conrad shirt. I feel like it just is too big on me because it was not intended to be, it was supposed to be like a comfy shirt and not, a shirt that I wore to post myself on the internet in. And I feel like, especially with, like, okay. Anyway, sorry. How was everyone's Wednesday? How's everyone's Wednesday going? And how is everyone feeling about the episode? I've gotten some comments. I've gotten some people who have obviously seen the episode and have messaged me about it. And some people are not very happy. I feel like for Team Conrad girlies, obviously there was not that much Conrad in tonight's episode or today's episode, which I think I have some explanation for. I think, again, I'm not Jenny Hanna. I don't know. I have nothing to do with the creative intention, design, plan for this show. But I do think this was like a fun episode overall. And I think it accomplished some things that needed to be wrapped up earlier rather than later. We'll get into all the details. We'll do our play-by-play for the episode, of course, as we always do. Please, of course, put your thoughts in the chat. Sorry, is this centered too? Sorry, I'm trying to tell. The way I have my setup, I think we're good. I think we're set up fine. Okay. Whew. I can chill a little bit. And as you can see, I unfortunately did not update our little Summer I Turned Pretty border. I promised by the finale that I will. This week, just, I said last week too, right? Oh, don't worry about it. I'll get my review out sooner. It went out yesterday and it did go up earlier than I wanted it to. So that was a win in my book. But I feel like Wednesdays just come and go so fast, especially when I'm constantly thinking about this show, which is such a fun little part of being a part of this community. But, guys, we have an episode to talk about. So, of course, episode 9 came out today, and I want to get your thoughts. So let's go through the chat. Let's see who's here. There's 33 of you watching, which I cannot even express to you. I was watching a video earlier of Ludwig talking about, like, streaming and how hard it is to talk to nobody. And there have been plenty of time on this channel where I have talked to nobody. So there being 40 of you off of the bat of this episode or this live stream recap, whatever, it genuinely means a lot to me. So thank you for being here. Bottle Cap is here. Hazel is here. Hazel was patiently waiting, and I do appreciate all the girlies. I saw that there were at least 6 of you when I checked, when I posted on my Instagram story and ran to put my mascara on. But yeah, thank you guys. It means so much more to me than you know. It genuinely does. Network 98 is here. Network 98, how are you? It's so nice to see you in the chat. Georgia, welcome. Mia, welcome. So Mia hold on, I gotta get my overlay set up, but Mia's got a good point, which is there is a lot still to wrap up. I do think that with the exception of, and this will also be spoilers, I think I have that in the title, but just to be clear, this is a spoiler recap. Don't be here if you do not want spoilers. I would love you to come back and watch this later, but there will be spoilers, and I am not gonna hold myself back from that. Sorry, I'm looking for the chat overlay. Hello, do I know how to work this? Here we go. Properties. Okay. So Mia is making a good point. I'm trying to get your comment on the screen, but that you feel like there's not enough time to give there it is, to give everyone a satisfying ending. I will say, we had some major backsliding for Jeremiah this episode. I think Belly is like, we'll talk about Belly in a second, but I think for Jeremiah, I think my hopes for him of where he'll be by the end of the show, I was kind of hoping for him to make some progress this episode, which, because this episode kind of exclusively takes place over the course of one day after the wedding, which I do think is important because I do think the next 2 episodes are going to move snappily. I think we're going to have some time jumps. So I do think it's important to like sit in this loss and not just go from like they were getting married last episode to like now she's ready to get together with Conrad. And I do think that Georgia has a good point that I do think the finale may end up being a slightly longer episode. I've noticed that last week's episode was 3 minutes longer than the normal episode, and this week's episode was 3 minutes longer on top of that. Obviously 6 minutes total of an episode aren't that much, but the show I do think has gotten longer since season 1. I'm going to double check this so I'm not lying out of my mouth here. I turned pretty, but I feel like because of how fast I binged the first season when it first came out, I do feel like they were shorter episodes. Hold on. We're going to check on Prime Video right now. Episodes. Okay, yeah. So season 1, the episodes range from like 40 minutes to 52 is the longest one, but a lot of them are around the 46-minute mark. And so now if you're considering that season 3, we're getting a solid 15 minutes at least per episode improvement on that, because the shortest episode thus far has been episode 57. Now, I will say, for some people who feel like they were maybe a little bit disappointed with this episode, which it wasn't as dramatic of an episode as the last 2 episodes. The last 2 episodes were Conrad's love confession, Belly realizing she still has feelings for him, so yay for the Conrad girlies. And last week was so many iconic scenes from the book that have to do with the wedding. That was pushing up our timeline. And so I do think it's possible that we do get longer episodes for the next 2 episodes, or even specifically for the finale. Do I think we're going to get something like 2 hours? No. But could I see it being like an hour and a half episode? I honestly could, because this show has been so huge for Amazon Prime and is literally the biggest and most talked about show. I personally feel like potentially, I'm going to make a claim here, potentially of the year. Now, obviously, I feel like The Pitt, Severance, even maybe The Last of Us, that like I didn't love. I love The Pitt, but the other 2 shows I could kind of take or leave these seasons, I feel like, and White Lotus, like this show has had a cultural zeitgeist to it, we'll say, that the rest of those have been able to tap into, but this has such like a strong and passionate fan base, specifically because it's appealing to women, I think, and specifically younger women who are more active on the internet. They're engaging more with the content. There's a little bit more of a non-fragmented, I guess you should say, like viewer experience, and the week to week is built. So I would just say, for anyone that feels like a little bit disappointed for this week's episode, we'll obviously talk about the reasons why, because I do feel like especially when I was editing my reaction to this week's episode, even though I enjoyed the episode, I giggled, I kicked my feet, I cheered, I screamed. It wasn't like the same drama as the last 2 weeks, but I think there's an important reason why, and again, we'll get into that. But let me just get to y'all's comments, because I think some of you are saying my thoughts. Addie is saying, I'm so mad I woke up at 5 a.m. I was low-key disappointed. Dan just said, not a girly, but support the channel. I appreciate that. I agree. Not enough time left to actually get a good ending. Jelly really had us thinking she was going up to Conrad. Okay, so let's talk about the airport scene where this episode starts. I had a feeling, and I said in my video yesterday, which I'm glad I included, obviously it was wrong. It wasn't like Conrad didn't even see that she was there, that Belly was there. But the 2 of them locking eyes, what I thought was going to happen is they lock eyes, and she kind of goes off to Paris. He goes back to California. I do think that Conrad staying in Cousins, like he kind of didn't do as, I think he needed to have the important conversation with his dad, and he needed to have the important conversation with Jeremiah, and he obviously needed to find out that the wedding was called off. So all of that was accomplished here. There wasn't as much for Conrad to do, because listen, I'm just going to say it. I've seen my boy Conrad suffer enough, and I love the yearning, but he's not going to yearn for her after he's already told everyone that he's still in love with her, and she's literally not present to be yearned over. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to just see him be sad. So as much as I was a little bit bummed that we didn't get any great Conrad moments this episode, I do think the conversation he has with Adam is really important at the end, and we'll talk about that later. But I liked the fact that she didn't go up to him and she makes the choice to go to Paris, because I think what these last couple episodes and the final trailer is playing with is this concept of Belly doesn't need either of these boys. She doesn't need these pillars in her life. And that's why she runs away to Paris, because she thinks she needs space from those things. What I think she's going to come to realize in Paris is she can be really happy there and enjoy that. But Cousins has always been her favorite place. Like, she can fall in love with Paris. She can also still love Cousins. And I think she's going to have this realization of like the new Belly, of the person that she chooses to be, that she wants to become, the rebuilt version of herself. She's then going to be able to come back and choose Conrad more fully. And for me, what I want more than anything, even over Belly and Conrad getting together in the end, which is obviously like the thing that I care about the most in this show, is things like them having growth as characters, because I've seen so much growth of Conrad over the last 3 seasons, and I feel like we desperately need that for Belly. And does it suck that we're only doing it in the last 3 episodes of the season? Yes, but I trust this team enough. I don't think that a writer team that's going to screw the pooch of an ending of a series that's this iconic would also be the same team that would have made the absolutely incredible love confession scene from Conrad on the beach, or the scene of Belly in the club. The Belly in the club thing is not in the book. Like, that's 100% their idea. So I am trusting the fact Stephen and Taylor is their idea, right? That did not come from the book. So like, I think that the things that they have added to the series have been so good that I'm willing to be patient. That being said, Tate was disappointed. I think this episode was a quieter episode. I think there were a lot more conversations had. I do think we spent a lot of time with like the night of the wedding. I guess that's to show like Belly getting to Paris and whatever. But I didn't necessarily need as much like drunk, sad Jeremiah, I think, as I got here. I think there were some really key important like lines that came from that, of him being like, I don't know who I am without Belly, and Taylor being like, that's not good. Like, you shouldn't, that's not okay. And I think this was really Stephen and Taylor's episode to shine, because they were able to be both supportive of Jeremiah. Taylor was sort of supportive of Conrad and told him like, hey, this isn't 100% your fault. Like, kind of is a little bit, but like also you're fine. Like, she was the first person to show him empathy. But I do think we spent a lot of time with Jeremiah this episode, which I think is what's disappointing me, because it wasn't Jeremiah like finding anything out. It wasn't Jeremiah becoming a better person. It wasn't Conrad and Jeremiah really working through stuff. In fact, I think Jeremiah was the most vindictive and horrible he was in this episode than he's been in the entire show. And I think what I also realized is that when Conrad is hurting about him and Belly's relationship, obviously he has not handled it well in the past. He has taken back his feelings. He has done those kind of things. But those are more in like conversations he's having with her. And it's more in a way that ultimately ends up hurting himself. Obviously it hurts Belly, but it hurts him. But when Jeremiah has an issue with him and Belly, or he's sad about it, he makes it Conrad's problem. In this episode, he goes and was like bullying his brother, who found a painting they didn't know existed from their mother, who is deceased, and was going to give it to the love of his life and his brother for their wedding gift. Meanwhile, Jeremiah is drunkenly spinning Susanna's ring at the bar. Don't piss me off, Jeremiah. Like, to Mia's point, I am struggling with how Jeremiah is going to be redeemed. I want him to. Last episode did a good job of creating sympathy for him, but this episode destroyed his character for me. So selfish and spiteful. He's rude to Belly on the phone. Like, I get being distraught. I get that he's going to lash out and he's not going to act this way. But I feel like Mia said, we saw such a soft side to him when they're calling off the wedding. And here, the minute that Belly tells him he needs space, never call me again, Belly. Never speak to me again. He gets pissed at Conrad. He's rude to Stephen and Taylor, which Stephen then finds out, like, this jerk cheated on my sister and I've been helping him all day. Like, geez, like, that Jeremiah was just unbelievable this episode. He was unbelievably, I just cannot believe that when he goes to Conrad and it's like, oh, I'm so excited I get to be the one to tell you she didn't stay. Like, his entire purview of, like, his issue with his brother is about who gets the girl. It's not about him, like, loving Belly at this point. And I really need him to realize that. And this is where, unsung hero of the episode, I'm going to be so honest, Adam Fischer. Listen, I never thought I would be an Adam Fischer defender. But there's a scene at the end of this episode where Adam and Conrad are talking, and Adam is kind of like, yeah, I gave you space, which I just want to preface, I think Adam and Conrad, or Adam and Jeremiah are very similar. They both will be like, yeah, well, this is actually a little bit your fault, and they're kind of right, but they're also kind of being gaslighty. And like when Adam's saying things to Conrad like, well, I left you alone and gave you space because I knew you needed it and I couldn't help at all. And that's what he's basically saying, like, you need to give Jeremiah space. But, he kind of was right. He's kind of spot on. And honestly, like, if anyone's going to help Jeremiah not be a totally horrible person for the rest of his life and, like, redeem his relationship, like, Adam can still sort of have a relationship with Laurel, even though he's done horrible things. And I feel like Adam might be able to, I don't know, be there for Jeremiah in a way that he was never able to be there for Conrad. And, like, I don't know, maybe that's the person that Jeremiah needs to help him out. I don't know. I just think I honestly really appreciated that scene. And there's something so complex about the fact that in the book, Conrad is saying, like, there's a line. I wish I could pull the audiobook stuff from here. But Conrad basically says, like, I was told my entire life that I was just like my dad. And so it kind of is brought up in the Conrad POV episode this season of, like, I didn't want to be anything like him. I didn't want to be the kind of man that put work before my family. I didn't want to be the guy that tipped poorly at restaurants. I didn't want to be the man that cheated on my wife. And so I dropped anything that was like him. That's why he stops playing football. And that's why he's in such a crash out season 1 initially. And they're all like, what's going on with Conrad? Is because he's trying to not be like his dad who cheated on his mother who is dying of cancer. And he's, like, dealing with all this internally. And so then the parallel of Jeremiah becoming just like Adam, a person who puts work before his family, a person who cheats on, like, the main woman in his life, who orders, like, a very expensive thing at a restaurant, which is, like, the comparison. I'm sure you guys have seen the edits on Instagram. I'm sure you have, of the audiobook, like, of Chris Briney saying this. But I think what's so interesting is, like, no matter how far Conrad has gotten away from trying to be directly like Adam, he still kind of is. And I do think he is more like Susannah, but, like, you cannot escape your parentage to some extent. Like, to some extent, Belly's kind of, like, reckless behavior is her being kind of like Laurel and being, like, a little self-destructive, because, I don't know, things like that. So I just really liked that Adam and Conrad scene, and I like that Adam goes to him, and it sucks because it's like, oh, he's been the quintessential bad father this whole show. But I do think that there's something about, I think he feels like he doesn't need to take care of Conrad, and he kind of respects that, but he's willing to take care of Jeremiah when Jeremiah needs it most. Like, because Jeremiah, both of the boys, different boys this season, have needed their mom. Their mom hasn't been there. Conrad's kind of been able to be his mom for a couple other people in the show, but, like, anyway, Jeremiah just needs some therapy. I would really like him to go to therapy next episode. But yeah, I do think it's gotten a little bit hard to root for Jeremiah, because after last week I was ready, war was over, right? Like, we're put down the flags, everyone, put down your weapons, like, leave Jeremiah alone, like, let's get him some help. But now I'm just like, no, you're horrible. You were horrible to Belly. You were horrible to Laurel. Listen to me. That scene, God, every time I think about Jeremiah in this show, it pisses me off. And this is nothing against Gavin, not at all. This is all against Jeremiah. When he was like, Laurel, you're not my mom, blah, 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 blah. He just can hurl a horrible, horrible, horrible insult. He's just so rude. Yeah, pissing me off, Jeremiah. I can't believe you treated Laurel that way. I hope maybe Adam is able to get through to him. Like, honestly, at this point, I'm pro Adam Fischer redemption over Jeremiah because he's just bothering me. Yeah, okay, let's let's keep going. We've got a lot to get to, I know, and I could yap all day about how much Jeremiah pissed me off this episode and continues to do it. When he almost lost the ring, this is one point I did want to make. When he almost lost the ring when he's drunk at the bar, that was pissing me off because he's like, I don't need this ring, haha. When he couldn't realize and recognize how big of a gesture that was for Conrad, I do think, though, that is a key Easter egg and thing to follow. Couple things that are leading to Belly Conrad wedding, right? That are hinting that is still endgame, okay? One, for me, is the fact that Laurel grabbed Belly's envelope or letter from Susannah. Belly didn't open it. Laurel has that. So that can come back into play later. Two, now we have the ring. That Jeremiah will have to be the one to give the ring back to be like, I want you to give this to Belly, or I want Belly to have this. I don't know. Those things could not be being pulled in. I just don't think you would have the shot of Laurel picking up the letter or of the ring going into Jeremiah's pocket if we weren't supposed to latch onto those things. Because the show is just too intentional about stuff like that, about infinity necklaces and junior mint and all these things that, like, I just don't believe that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Okay. Moving on. That's enough about Jeremiah for now. Addie says, I think she and Benito are going to date, but then she gets Conrad's letters and realizes she likes him more than Benito and then ends up with him. So for those unaware, in the book, Benito is a Spanish guy which we saw in this episode. We got confirmed that it was Benito. Benito is a Spanish guy that Belly is like riding around, like hanging out with in Paris. And Conrad writes about Benito to Belly in a letter based on what Laurel has told him about Belly's experiences abroad. So Laurel assumedly is like, oh, she's dating this guy named Benito. In the book, it's joking. Like, Conrad jokes, like, what does he do? Like, wear skinny leather pants and, like, have a gross ponytail. Like, what are you doing, Belly? Blah, blah, blah. Kind of teasing her. And these are also in his, like, once he starts sending her letters, this is in one of the letters he, like, kind of just assumes is not going to be answered. So, he's kind of teasing her, but it's clear that, like, he cares. And Benito has a scooter, so there's not really much written about him. But I think because it's a show, we are going to probably see them together. And I think what is going to be key about her and Benito is maybe not even the letters coming into play, but Belly's going to realize, like, maybe, if she kisses Benito or they have some type of, like, romance, that she doesn't feel the fireworks. And maybe that's in the form of, like, she gets a letter from Conrad, realizes she has the fireworks for somebody else and that. But I think that firework motif is going to have to come back. We saw it in the trailer. I think that's an Easter egg. Like, I think that's important. I agree, though, that we are going to probably see them together. And I do think, too, that next episode, I think, is going to be a time jump. I think we're going to jump and see, like, a montage of Belly's time in Paris, because I think we've seen a lot from the trailer that we got last week that we've already seen. And I think a lot of those moments didn't feel like clips from a scene. They felt kind of montagey. And so I kind of think that we're going to get some montage, and that's going to lead up to Taylor coming to visit so that we can get some more time passed. Conrad can be back in California. Jeremiah can be doing whatever the hell he's doing. Taylor and Steven's relationship. Taylor's going to come visit Belly, I think. And then I think Belly's going to be there for at least a year, because I think she's supposed to be there in, like, August right now. In the show, it's August. And then it's going to skip through fall, I think. And I think next week we're going to see the New Year's. If not, just because that's the only way I see the timing working, is if next episode there's a lot of montage about Paris and Belly's time there and, like, kind of short scenes, we get a lot of progress with some other people. Maybe it ends with, like, a letter coming after New Year's, and then the last episode can kind of be, like, Belly reconnecting. But again, I will say I have a lot of faith in these writers and the creative team behind the show, because last week's episode, I did not think that all of that could happen in one episode, and it did. They proved me very wrong with that. So I think that next episode is going to be another speedy one, and then the last episode might have, like, a little bit of a time jump. But this episode did genuinely take place over, like, 24, 48 hours, maybe 36 hours. So, and I think that was meant to feel real time for Jeremiah suffering, for Belly suffering and finding herself, and getting acquainted with Paris and not feeling like, oh, she went to Paris and she's happy now, because I don't think that's the message they're trying to send. I think they're trying to say, like, she's happy because she's trying new things. She's discovering parts about herself. It's not that just that she, like, hopped on a plane and, was fine. But yes, we need to talk about Steven and Taylor. Sorry, guys, I'm getting behind in the chat. But Steven and Taylor are back together, guys. Steven and Taylor are back together. This is huge, 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 huge. I think when I was really thinking about, like, okay, nothing huge happened this episode, but Steven and Taylor getting back together, genuinely having communication, which, again, I just posted a reel, like, or a YouTube short, like, 2 hours ago about how Taylor and Steven's relationship and that love triangle with Denise, if you can even call it that, because it wasn't really for that long, but that is supposed to mirror Belly, Conrad, Jeremiah's relationship and their love triangle. And that Taylor thinks that Denise and Steven were the right people for each other, just the same way that Taylor thought that Belly and Jeremiah are the right people for each other. Both of those are wrong because the heart wants what the heart wants, and Belly and Conrad have feelings for each other, and Steven and Taylor have feelings for each other. And that's what ends up mattering. Here, though, I really liked the fact that Steven and Taylor, to fix their relationship, that they actually need to that's right, bottle cap bro, they communicated. Thank you. When they kissed and they were like, we need to talk, and I was like, no, you need to speak to each other. This is not communication. I literally have a clip of myself saying that. And then they pulled apart and they talked and they discussed, like, here's what happened last time. I really want this to be serious. And Steven has a great line in this that I think will kind of come back around in his advice maybe to Belly later or in some way in the show. But Steven says, because Taylor's like, what if it doesn't work? Like, what if we get back together and we make all these, like, we try to do it the right way and it doesn't work? And Steven's like, that's always a possibility, right? It's not like you find the right person and it's like, there's no chance that anything could happen or anything could go wrong. But, like, so much of love is taking that, like, risk and that leap of faith. And I think here it's going to be, like, Belly's going to have hesitancies probably about starting something up with Conrad again after everything that's happened. And I think this line from Steven about, like, I think it's worth it to try. And I think that's going to kind of be, if that's true for Steven and Taylor, I think it ends up being true for Conrad and Belly. So I think that's the foreshadowing. And I think the reason that they did Steven and Taylor in this episode is, one, they can time jump without it being like, oh, they just randomly got back together, surprise, because it makes a lot more sense for, like, Taylor and Steven to go and visit Belly or something like that along those lines and kind of get to see their relationship. And somebody deserves to be happy in the show, okay? So, like, let's let them be happy. They communicated, they earned it, they're happy. And I think that them then being, like, forces for, like, pro-love, like, being happy and, like, healthy and communicating is going to be a good example for all of their friends and all the thing. Yes, Georgia. Steven's line, who the F is Lacey Barone? I love that line. I love that so much because they always say her name, like, Lacey Barone. And it's so funny to me. Anyway, I loved that too. But, yeah, I was just happy for Steven and Taylor. And I think that was the key importance, is this episode was not really about Belly and Conrad. It wasn't really about Belly and Jeremiah. We get to see the fallout of Belly and Jeremiah's wedding because we needed to feel that, especially if we're going to have to take some time jumps in upcoming episodes. But more importantly, I do think that this was an episode about Steven and Taylor being good friends, being supportive people, coming off the heels of them both trying to support Belly last episode, this episode supporting each other, being there for Jeremiah, being there for Conrad at the same time too, or at least Taylor sort of was. And, like, they've grown a lot as characters, and that's just what I want to see for everybody else. But I do think that in a way they needed to close out the Steven and Taylor thing, because then when Belly and Conrad get back together, the show is over. I was watching, when you talk about, like, story loops, like, Belly and Conrad is the biggest story loop of this show. And when that is finished, you cannot then be like, well, what about Steven and Taylor? Like, that needs to be taken care of first. So that's why I'm giving this episode grace for being a quieter episode, because it just needed to be, I think. I get being disappointed. I also woke up very early for this episode. I don't want to say very early, earlier than I normally did, and I watched the beginning of the day. That was my other thing, was I didn't know if maybe because I hadn't, like, waited all day in anticipation of the episode, if it didn't hit as hard. I just don't think there was as many hard-hitting moments. I will say, and we'll get into the songs later, but the How Did It End, I wish I would have made a prediction on that song, because I was thinking, like, this is literally about calling off a wedding and people in a small town, like, wondering, like, what's going on? Like, let's gossip about these people. And it was just so perfect for this episode. It was really great. Okay, let me get back to the chat. I think Belly needs to find herself and not build her life on what the boys think of her. Exactly. She needs to go to Paris and she needs to meet these new people and these new friends. And they were all, I think it's kind of implied they were all like artsy people. And so I think that's also something that like Belly got into like sports psychology because it was helpful to her. But it's kind of like you did that at Finch. Like maybe if you had other options, I don't know. Like I'm not trying to read too much into that, but like I think Belly discovering what she does and doesn't like if she does realize like, oh, I don't like this artsy Paris scene, I don't know, I'm jealous a little bit. I'd love to go to Paris, but I agree, she needs to build her life separated from them. And kind of like she says to her mom, like what is she supposed to do, go back to Finch where she has all these memories with Jeremiah, and like she needs to do something different and break the patterns that she has of cousins and Jeremiah and Finch and Conrad and her relying too much on her mom. Like she needs to be an adult woman. She almost got married. She needs to figure out some things about herself before she moves on. Also, I did think it was hilarious that she didn't have a spot in Paris. Like it was horrible, but it was kind of funny. I did like the way that played out because in the show, I think it's just kind of implied that it was her study abroad, but like that's an expansion that's kind of funny of like it really is rock bottom. Like she thinks at least maybe I have Paris. No, girl, you don't have a spot. So, but I also love that all of a sudden it's being introduced as an option for them to do school online when like both of them are like, ugh, you can't go to Paris, and like, ugh, I'm gonna have to like, I can't work because I have to finish college for Jeremiah. Now all of a sudden they remember Zoom exists and they're fine, but whatever. Jocelyn says, I saw an interview with Jenny where she mentioned she prefers a hopeful ending instead of a neat ending. I think it'll just be a hint to Conrad at the very end. I don't think so. So when I look at, now I did not read the books of To All the Boys I Loved Before, but when you look at that movie, it is definitive that Peter Kavinsky and Laura Jean Song Covey are together. Like they're dating. They go to separate colleges and date long distance, and that is kind of the not neat ending. And so I think what that might mean is that they're not necessarily married at the end of this, which the letter and the ring are hinting at things that I think are like make me think that there's going to be a wedding at the end of this. But I have seen that interview and I know what you mean, but I also think that I don't see it I don't see there just being a hint. Like even today there was the follow through of like her and Conrad at the airport, and like we got to see that scene play out. So I don't think we're just gonna get a hint of it. I think they will definitively be together. Will it be that they are married? Maybe not. Will it be like right when they get back together and we don't really get to see them together? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how to parse that over. I can't think too much about it because the concept of Belly and Conrad not being like fully together at the end of the show, actually, I don't think it would ruin it for me because the experiences that I've had with the show are too close to my heart that like that's never going to change that. But it would be like, okay, but why? Like, what is your purpose? I don't know. I just trust too much that there's going to be something fun here that happens. I don't know. I'm interested to see how it is hopeful but not neat, you know. We'll see. Addie said, I was confused when Adam was confused with Conrad said he loved Belly, completely forgetting that he didn't know they dated, and then it brought me back to, yes! So that was the funniest part, is like Adam has no concept, and I think it was very interesting here, and this is where I'm like, oh, Adam Fischer redeemed. I never thought I'd say it, but he didn't go, wait, you've been in love with Belly? He obviously was like, who did you say it to? But then once Conrad is being genuine, he almost like locks into dad mode and it's like, oh, he's talking to me about this. This means I just need to like not ask too many questions about it and whatever. Like he didn't realize that they dated, or it wasn't something that was important to him. Or he just thought it was like silly because it keeps being referenced that they like, oh, we dated in high school. Oh, we dated in high school. And I get they're supposed to be like way more grown up than this now. As someone who dated someone very important to me in high school, I am kind of offended when this is just lobbed at people. I get it. It's a generalization. I understand. But I think it continues this motif of like, well, you can't know who you're going to love too young. Whereas in the show, it's very much like, no, Belly and Conrad have always loved each other. What are you talking about? But in this moment, he didn't like ask questions. about it. He kind of just locked into like giving Conrad advice, and I liked that a lot. Yes, bottle cap. Staylor finally communicated. Everyone else needs to do the same thing. Let's just talk it out. Let's hash it out. Like, if I was Taylor in this situation, I would get everyone in a room together and I'd be like, intervention now. Say everything you need to say to each other. Hurt each other as bad as you need to. Get it all out. And this is where, once again, I think Conrad did the right thing by telling Belly that he still loved her, even though he was initially trying to just communicate that Jared cheated on her and then check in on her and see if she was okay. And then his feelings end up coming out because she's like, why do you care? Why do you care? Blah, blah, blah. But I think it's so important that he did that because that is him communicating. That is him getting it out. And the fact that he's then like tells everyone else. Because in the book, there is a line about how Conrad, he's like, I feel alive. Like, now that I said it, now that I got it off my chest, like, I feel like I could do anything now. Like, now it's not scary. Like, I said it to her. I don't care who else knows, whatever. And yeah, I get it. Like, in real life, again, if I heard the story, I'd be like, that is crazy. But I don't think, what else was Conrad supposed to do? The day of the wedding? No. 2 days before is perfectly acceptable in my opinion, especially after you just found out that your brother just cheated on the girl who's the love of your life and you're trying to let her know, and then she is like, oh, no problem, whatever. Like, again, also, and not to send hate to My Life with the Walter Boys, I'm going to continue to watch it because, you know, I'm in this YA world right now and I can't get out of it. I'm enjoying it too much. But Yeehaw Love Triangle isn't working for me as strongly, and I'll do another video about this later, because at least in Beach Love Triangle, in Summer I Turned Pretty, they've known each other their whole lives, so we get flashbacks and context to why they might like each other or why someone might be acting the way they are or if they were different in the past. Whereas in My Life with the Walter Boys thus far, I have no concept of that. She just shows up and they're both like enamored with her. And I don't quite get it. Miss Jackie, love you, girl. You're rocking the J. Crew Banana Republic style, Ralph Lauren, but I'm a little lost. Anyway, not time for Yeehaw Triangle. Time for Beach Triangle. Yes, I also like that Adam stepped up for both of his sons in this episode, because I do think that both of them carrying this vindictiveness against their dad is negative. I will say what I do think we might see next episode, perhaps, if we get my time jump theory. In one of Conrad's letters to Belly, he expresses that the first time he sees Jeremiah is at Thanksgiving after the wedding, the same year the wedding has happened. And they talk about how it's awkward at first, but then their dad puts on football and like everyone's fine, and they kind of fall into this like the three men in this family, like, because they're the family that they have anymore, because Aunt Julia ain't showing up again, I can tell you that. But they're the family that they have, and they're all tied together by, maybe at this point they don't feel like anything, but it's their relationship to Susannah and the fact that I do think all miss her, even though Adam was a horrible husband to her. And, you know, anyway, like, I think that is going to be like hopefully a scene maybe we get to see, and it's maybe brought on by Adam's realization that he needs to be there for his sons. I have seen a theory floating around that Kaylee is pregnant, and that's why he's like with the parents and why she didn't drink at the rehearsal. I don't know if I believe that. That just feels like an unnecessarily complicated addition to the show in an already complicated show. But it could be true, and maybe that's why Adam's all of a sudden deciding to be a good father, because I feel like that's always a trope of like, dad was a horrible dad to somebody, but then has another much younger kid, and is a completely different person with that kid. But I do like the fact that he's been able to step up for both the boys in this episode. I did honestly find that very heartwarming. Also, it's taken me out. I rewatched La La Land recently. You guys know that Adam Fischer is the husband of Emma Stone's character, Mia, at the end of La La Land. I was watching La La Land, and I was like, da-da-da-da, and I said, what the hell is Adam Fischer doing married to Mia at the end? My God, it was a jump scare. The actor, let me pull up the actor's name. Oh my God, sorry. My cable management is so poor that, I just almost knocked my camera over. Jeez, sorry guys. Somewhere I turned pretty Adam Fischer. Tom Everett Scott. Also, he looks so much like both of the sons, both Jeremiah and Conrad. There's like different parts of him where I was like, oh, he looks like both of them. Anyway, I loved that. Okay, now let's talk about our girl Belly, who has flown off to Perry. I do think she grew up this episode. I do think it was fun to get to see her like lose her bag and kind of be forced to grow up, because when she was walking around Paris, I was like, girl, like, no wonder you and Jeremiah never would have made it as a couple, because both of you are too irresponsible to be doing any of this stuff. But like, Belly, I like the concept of her going with the flow, not knowing what's happening, and trusting herself to figure it out, because I do think that was like the core of her story this episode. Is like, she decides like, I have nothing better to do, I'm tracking down my backpack. I don't know where I'm gonna live, but I just met these people, and like, maybe I can, you know, we can figure something out. And then her even like deciding to stay and calling Jeremiah and stuff, like, she is doing everything she needs to do to move forward on her terms and like in a way that she feels good about. And that's really exciting for her as a character, because I do think this season, especially when we lost her narration, which I know there's somebody out here who has done some breakdowns of her narration. I actually haven't watched them. I've seen some of her YouTube shorts. I wish I had her name. Let me go to my subscription box so I can give her a shout out, because the YouTube shorts have been killer. They've been amazing. Let me see. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find one. Here we go. Oop, nope, that's not it. Nope. No, it's penned by RJ. Penned by RJ. She's done great YouTube shorts, and she's done 3 videos breaking down Belly's narration. She was definitely the first person to call it out to me as something that like went missing. And then I was like, oh, you're so right. Like, I'm just glad it's back. I'm glad Belly is getting back to being Belly. And I think over the next episode, we're going to see her really heal. And then who knows what the finale is going to bring, but it's going to be great. It's going to be good. I believe in it. I think they were doing a good job of building sympathy for Jared last episode, but this episode of Jared was just acting like a kid. Totally agree. I was kind of like Steven and Taylor were married and Jeremiah was their kid. It did feel that way. It did very much feel that way. Buttercup says Jared's inferiority complex came out a lot. It really did. When he is eating that apple so smugly on the freaking counter, looking at Conrad, and like, oh, let me tell you this. It's screaming of, I'm hurt that a girl left me, but I'm going to make my brother feel horrible about it, even though, I don't know, like, Jeremiah just makes me so angry, because it's like, you don't even need to believe that Conrad is there for you, but like, what are you going to do? You're going to cut out your brother now, who like, you now know the girl you love didn't pick your brother? Can you not just leave him alone, or be like, hey man, like, this really sucks for both of us? I don't know. Jeremiah. I feel like in the show, I remember a couple years ago, I was talking to my sister-in-law about this. She had read the books like right after season 1 came out, and like was telling me everything that happened at the time. And I didn't understand it as in depth as I obviously do now, because I've seen the show a million times and read the last book. But she was telling me about how the turn from Jeremiah being like super sweet in book 2 to Jeremiah like cheating on her feels a little bit forced in the book. It felt like it kind of was like all of a sudden, which the book literally starts with that essentially. And I kind of didn't care. Like, I was obviously Team Conrad from the very start, so I was like down with Jeremiah any way possible, any way we need to. But I think in the show they've really made it into like Jer is vindictive in a way that like Conrad shuts down and is not communicative when he is upset and hurt. He burdens himself with a lot of things. He has this probably like a little bit too much of a hero complex of like, let me fix things for other people no matter where it puts me. But Jeremiah is vindictive and hurtful and hateful, and he once again, we're going back to it, last episode admitted that the reason he picked a fight before he went on spring break where he did choose to sleep with somebody else, whether it's cheating or not cheating, was because he was jealous of the fact that Belly simply saw Conrad. Simply saw him. He even admits, I knew you didn't sleep with him. I knew you didn't hook up with him. That's all I need to know about your character, Jeremiah, and I wish for you, and for that Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog Joy to the World song that I love, that you get your act together. Okay? You need to. Steven and Taylor together were a huge highlight. Genuinely, the happiest this show has been in weeks. In weeks. This was the first episode I didn't step away in pain from. I will say that. You know, which pain is a stronger emotion than like maybe just like medium indifference for some of the characters, but I was so happy for Steven and Taylor. I just spit on my mic. That's great. I was just thinking about the Adam scene. He kind of redeemed himself. He kind of did. Bottlecup says you can see how much Conrad has changed in the first 2 seasons. He hated his dad and he was letting that affect others around him, but now Conrad is respecting his father and being kind to him. Exactly. I think Conrad is at the place where he can see the good in his dad as much as he can see the stuff that is like questionable about his dad. He still knows, and he chooses not to confront his dad in that scene about Kaylee. He chooses not to say like, why the heck did you bring her here? He realizes that that kind of doesn't matter anymore if Adam cheated on Susannah. Like, it sucks, but it kind of doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, but yeah, he's able to take what good his dad can offer him and accept that and not just be like, bye. I wish we wouldn't spend any time learning about new characters when we were only 2 episodes left. I do think that is one bummer, is like the new people in her Paris world, but I think to build this out, to make it feel like these characters are real more than just the book did, I do think getting to meet them is great. Like, do I need their entire backstory? No. I think kind of the way it happened felt so seamless because I was like, I don't really want to be like, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. I don't even know what her name in the show is. I think it's Lucy. Yeah, she's Tara from Heartstopper. Like, that's her name. And that's not her girlfriend. Darcy is her girlfriend. I don't know what this show's gone on about. But I get where you're coming from, but I don't think they're going to abandon the characters we already have. Like, I think if this episode was anything, this showed their commitment to Steven and Taylor to basically give them their own episode before they get to some of the other characters. I do get what you're saying, though. I don't know that we're going to get to know them as in depth. I think it's just important we know that these are real people that Belly has, like, meaningful relationships and meaningful experiences with before the end of the show. Because, again, I think if she had run off with Conrad at the airport, it would have felt so dissatisfying. As happy in the moment as I would have been, when I look back at the show, it would have been dissatisfying. Because I think one of the biggest shows that I complain about the final season, and the final episode specifically, or really the final 7 minutes. I've timed it. It's the final 7 minutes of How I Met Your Mother. That entire final season is about a wedding, like literally hour by hour, a wedding. That then happens in the final episodes, and 7 minutes later, those characters are divorced. Not to spoil How I Met Your Mother for anyone who hasn't watched it. You've had time, and it's notoriously a bad ending. But they rush it to get back to something that was kind of like, they kind of almost didn't realize that they were screwing themselves over. Like, all the work they'd been putting in for like the entire season was gone. And so here, I think it would be disingenuous if like Belly just runs off with Conrad, goes to Paris for 1 episode, and then comes back. And like, yeah, I think some people are hoping that we get like an epilogue episode of the show. I don't think we're going to. I really don't. But do I think we're going to see Belly and Conrad happily and romantically in love? Yeah, I do think we will, but I need to be quiet about that. I need to stop talking about that. I think Benito may be an important tool for Belly to realize she wants to be with Conrad. It could be the catalyst for her responding to Conrad's letters. I agree. I do think they could play with Benito in a way that they couldn't really in the letter. It's kind of just supposed to be this like random throwaway line in one of his letters of the fact that like Conrad is obviously still pining over her. But I do think it could be really important, as in like, maybe not even they break up and that's why Belly writes Conrad back, but maybe more so like, maybe more so something along the lines of, I don't know what it would be. But I'm interested to find out. Ugh. I can't believe it's Wednesday already and I have to wait another week. Next week I probably won't be able to wake up early and watch the episode. So that'll keep it feeling alive a little bit longer. The anticipation for maybe a more eventful episode next week. But I just liked how Steven got more mad about Conrad's confession to Belly than learning that Jeremiah cheated twice. I agree with you, Paula. This was something that frustrated me, mostly because I think Stephen was out of line with this. I don't understand why I guess after he finds that out, he doesn't really go back to Jeremiah and like help him out at all. But it did really frustrate me that I guess maybe he feels like, oh, that's so in the past now and they're broken up anyway. Like, I don't need to go and like get mad at him again about it. But I do feel like that's pivotal. And I guess he's obviously, I don't know. I just can't believe he went back and like got mad at Conrad when then he finds that information out. And maybe that's something that like he and Conrad have a conversation. Maybe that's why it comes into play, is he and Conrad have a conversation like, did you know that Jeremiah cheated? And Conrad's like, yeah, I knew. That's why I told her that I loved her. And then maybe Stephen can see it in a new light. I really want Stephen and Conrad's friendship to be resolved by the end of the show. Those are the things that are making me nervous with the show. Is like, I think Belly's going to be sorted, Conrad's going to be sorted, and I think we're going to get some type of resolution with Jeremiah. Maybe not redemption, full redemption, but resolution. Also, I will say, could there be a Jeremiah spinoff of this show? Not saying I necessarily want it, but I'm saying it could be possible. He would be the character. I do think the most likely spinoff for the show is a Susannah and Laurel prequel. Maybe it's called like Beck and Park or something like that. Something cute like that. Oh, that'd be so cute. I'm copywriting it Amazon. I'm copywriting it right now. But that I think that's the most likely spinoff, but I think a Jeremiah one could work. Be interesting. I don't know. Yes. I love Stephen and Taylor together. I think that Stephen is so head over heels for Taylor, and I just like them together, and I like this concept of them probably being the most adult of the group, maybe outside of Conrad, and like getting to see them be happy and healthy. I'm just so looking forward to it. I'm so excited. Yes. Oh, this is good, Mia. This is great. Stephen and Taylor saying, I think you're worth it. Mirrored Conrad saying to Belly, it was worth it being with you, loving with you. Both endgame. Yes, I love this so much. Paula says, I think this episode was more about Jeremiah than anyone else. Didn't he get more screen time than the rest? I guess he probably got more screen time than Stephen and Taylor did. It really was about Jeremiah like hurting and then being vindictive. I think it's just like, I want to look more positively on the things that didn't involve him, obviously, but yeah, he probably did. I haven't counted, obviously, the screen time, but maybe he did. Belly does love older movies, and apparently she'll work for a movie theater. Yes, so that is something, that I'm really excited about in this Paris is Belly working at a cinema club or like a cinematheque. And having this appreciation for movies, that was something that I was like, maybe I really don't want this to end and be like, and it was all a movie that Belly Isabel Conklin Fischer made, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've always been, I don't want something like that, but I do wonder if that is like a new career path she takes or something that they play with. And maybe she sees like Bye Bye Birdie in there. And, yeah, I don't know. Oh my gosh, I'm so behind in chat. Okay, we're focusing on chat. I gotta catch up. Look up the translation of the song playing in the cafe with Belly, Voila by Francis Hardy. The lyrics are a big Easter egg. Oh, okay, let's do that. Voila by Francois Hardy. Excuse me, can I get these in English, please? Okay, I'm going to try to read these. This is from Lyric Genius, which I've been using, or Genius Lyrics. Here, look at the others, yet I see nothing in them. That's how it is. Here I go with the others. The time passes worse than good. That's how it is. And you, what are you doing? Are you content with all this? I'm there in front of you, always the same. Oh, why is it still you that I love, that I love, that I love, that I love? You are there in front of me, always the same. Oh, why can't I tell you I love you, I love you, I love you? Here you go back to the others that love me and that I don't love. That's how it is. And you go find the other one. You love her. That's what you think. That's how it is. Here we have nothing more to tell each other. I'm there in front of you, always the same. You see it. It's so you that I love, that I love, that I love. You go away and nothing else matters. Oh, why can't I shout, I love you, I love you? Wait. That is a huge Easter egg. Wait, let's go, Mia, for calling that out. Wait, that's wonderful. So that's 100%. Mia, I am stealing that. I'm going to give you credit, but I'm going to do a YouTube short about that because of all the lyric stuff I've done. But that feels so... Hopefully that's true and I'm not being ignorant because I don't speak French. Anyone who speaks French in the chat, let us know. Is that the literal translation? Is it off? Is it accurate? Please let me know. Please inform me. Rebecca, welcome to the stream. Yes. So, listen, I'm glad we didn't have to see Belly and Jeremiah kiss. I'm glad we didn't get to see, there's no more talk of Belly and Jeremiah being together. But I was saddened by how much he was on my TV today. Oh, Mia's translating it. I'm looking at other guys. I see nothing in them. What are you up to? Why is it still you that I love? Why can't I say I love you? I love that. It really does. It really does hurt to think that they might not be together. That is brutal. Adam was somehow helpful in this episode. Him and Taylor are the only ones who are not super mean with Conrad. Agreed, Rebecca. It's better to cancel a wedding than get a divorce, so I think he was right to tell her if she didn't care, this would not affect her. I am so glad they didn't. I was worried for a hot second that they were going to do the, Belly and Jeremiah do get married, and then they get divorced. And I was like, I did not want that. I wanted a called off wedding. Also, a called off wedding is so much more dramatic. A divorce is just a little bit too real for a show like this, especially when that's what Laurel, I think, wanted Belly to avoid, is like she went through that. Susannah went through that. So like, I think Susannah and Adam do get divorced, right? Or do they not? I think they do. Paul says, I also don't think Belly would have given up the wedding if it wasn't for Conrad's confession, so his confession was necessary. I think she would have talked herself into it, but I think her realizing that Conrad does have feelings for her means that she can't ignore her feelings for Conrad. Agreed. And Rita says, speaking of YA stories, check out the German... Girl, don't even speak to me about Maxton Hall. I love Maxton Hall so much. In fact, I need to desperately rewatch it before season 2. Guys, subscribe now if you want Maxton Hall content in November when it comes out, because it is coming. I swear to you, I made a chart because there are so many of you who have subscribed about, I'm assuming, Summer I Turned Pretty, and I want to keep you guys as happy as possible because I so appreciate you being subscribed to the channel that I wrote out a massive list. I won't show you my whole list, but I wrote out this list for the content I basically thought like might be good pairing for this audience. Hello, camera. Thank you. And it has a Max and Hall in it. Season 2 comes out November 7th, so we will 100% be talking about that. Oh, and Rita, I'm so glad you brought this up because I love Maxton Hall. I, in fact, wanted to desperately read the books after I watched the series last year, but they weren't translated into English at the time, and I believe they're going to be releasing in the next like month or two in English. So I may have to try to get those from the library or something because my physical TBR is out of control, so I don't need to buy more books. But yes, I love Maxton Hall. Maxton Hall, every single trope in that show I love. I am so glad you said that, Amrita. Why were Adam and Laurel talking a lot to each other? Just something I saw. I think they were just like, they're obviously the only like two, well, I mean, maybe they just didn't want John there this episode. But I think it makes sense for them to, I don't know, they're picking up the pieces of their kids. They were kind of at odds about how the wedding was handled. And like, obviously Adam is paying for it, but Laurel is trying to make sure that things are kind of taken care of the right way, that like the food gets donated if possible, the flowers get donated if possible. Like she's trying to find the positive in this. And I also think it's like, it kind of makes sense for the parents to be like fighting a little bit over like their kids calling off such a big day. After this episode, I'm done with Jeremiah. How can Conrad and Belly move down with this child? I can't see it. He really is a child. He's a man child. And I don't know. I want because it just feels better if he's not completely villainized by this show. But I do feel like in this episode, I really lost my patience with him. And I'm like, I don't really care what happens to you at this point. Steven and Taylor are happy. Now I just need Belly and Conrad to be happy. And then everyone else, whatever. You know, that's what I need. When Belly and her mom watch the musical after the bridal shower, she runs her finger past a La La Land DVD. Does she? What a great little reference. I really need to rewatch season 3 because I've rewatched most of season 1. I've rewatched all of, if not most of season 2. Not all of, but most of season 2. And I need to, maybe before the finale, we do like a crash rewatch. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have time to film all of that. That stresses me out. Maybe we'll do a rewatch after the show, but guys. Marco, thank you for coming to the stream. Stream is going great. Welcome. So glad you found me on shorts. I've been a maniac on shorts as much as possible, and it's been such a blessing that so many of you guys have found the channel that way. So welcome. Thank you for being here. I so appreciate it. Paula says, Jeremiah and Conrad's reconciliation better not happen off screen. If it happens at all, then it needs to be properly developed because both are main characters and the Brotherhood is important. Agreed. I do think that needs to happen on screen because their fallout happened on screen. So I think that, I agree that I think is the most important. I knew what you meant, Rebecca. I got you, girl. Okay, Georgia was talking about RJ. She's amazing. After the latest episode, it's almost impossible for the series to reconcile Jeremiah and Conrad without feeling forced. Jeremiah bragging about the phone call. Ugh. Every time I think about it, every time I think about his face, makes me so angry, so mad. Did I read the books? I wasn't the biggest fan of the first season, but I'm all in on season 3. So here's my entire history, the entire history of Sasha and the Summer I Turned Pretty. First season, I believe, came out on Labor Day back in 2022. Binged the entire series that full day. Or I had like a random Monday off. Binged the entire series. I think it was like the day it came out or like a week after it came out. Watched the whole thing. Then I kind of learned from my sister-in-law who had read the books everything about the story. And then season 2, for some reason I did not watch season 2 as it was coming out. And I binged season 2 this summer. Then I read We'll Always Have Summer, which is the 3rd book, to then binge this. So to answer your question, I also read like 50 pages of the first book, but at the time it was a little too YA for me. Now, because I'm so entrenched in, like, the story means so much to me, I will be going, and I really want to get the box set, like the show covers. Usually, my younger self would kill me if she knew I was saying I want the show cover of something, but I really want those so that I can display them. Like, look, there's a spot for them right here. Oop, wrong. I'm struggling with this. Okay, whatever. Anyway, by the lamp. There's a spot for them. And so I really, really want those. And yeah, I'm all in on season 3. I think season 1 I was all in on. And for some reason, season 2, I don't know. I remember seeing the prom dress photos. I actually cannot tell you why that wouldn't have been. Was season 2 last year or was it 2 years ago? Hold on. Because if it was 2 years ago, that would have been when I was getting married. So that would have explained a lot. I Turned Pretty season 2. Yeah. Oh, well, okay. It was. Oh, no, it quite literally was like right around the time I got married that it was coming out. So that's why I didn't. Wait, so it's been 2 years? Dang. I think that's why. Is this show came out back-to-back years, 2022, 2023. Oh, it must have been Memorial Day. No, June 17th. Why would I have had that day off of work? I don't know. I don't know, but I binged it then. I will be going back and reading the books. If you're not I can't speak. If you're an audiobook person, then if you're an audiobook person, Lola Tung, Gavin Castellagno, and Chris Bryony do the audiobooks on Audible. So, highly recommend those. Okay, I need to catch up with the chat. You guys have been keeping up with everything I've been saying. I'm sorry. I'm a yapper, and you guys are listening, and that means the world. Conrad and Billy were together first. I don't get why Jeremiah is acting like Conrad. So he is. He's on the narrative of, you were only together for a couple months in high school. Shut up, Jeremiah. No one likes you. Literally no one likes you. Except for, I guess, Redbird. People are claiming the writers have assassinated Jeremiah's character because they want to make Conrad look better, but he's always been manipulated. Yes, exactly, Paula. Season 1, the fireworks scene, Like, I was having flashbacks to that in the way that he's treating Conrad in this episode, because that is the exact same way. Conrad is close to Belly. Let me shoot a firework at them, and then actually I'm going to go for Belly. Huh? What? No. He's always been vindictive. He's always been manipulative. Even last season, he could tell that Belly liked Conrad and there were unresolved feelings there, and he still went after her every single time. And that's where, like, yes, Belly has agency, and Belly needs to be like, hey, I might still have feeling for your brother. Let's call off the wedding, or like speak her mind. But Jeremiah can't act like he wasn't manipulative either. Period. End of story. Rebecca, this is killing me. The worst Jeremiah episode is always the next. Every week I thought, no way he gets more annoying, but every week I'm surprised. Last week I did have a lot of sympathy for him, even though I kept getting pissed off, but I agree with you. This week I was just more pissed off at him. After all Jeremiah has done, I hope the writers don't rush a reconciliation between Jeremiah and Conrad. At this point, I think it's more believable for the relationship to never be the same. Yes. Yeah, I guess I see where you're coming from. That would be something that, like, if they don't perfectly tie it up in the show, like, I'd be okay with it. I would be fine with it, to be honest. I would like to see it, but I think, I don't know, maybe the relationship never being the same is important, but I think it also probably never will be the same because Jeremiah has been so vindictive to Conrad, and then also the fact that, like, I don't know, if Jeremiah does go to the Adam Fischer school of business and, like, doesn't ever find himself, then, like, I don't know, maybe that is is that a better ending or not? I would feel bad for the Jeremiah girlies, but then also the Jeremiah girlies, like, hate Conrad with a visceral passion in a way I don't quite understand. Jeremiah girlies are welcome here. We're just a majority team Conrad group, okay? But anyway. Has she already watched the episode? Yes. Also, highly recommend you to watch Max and Hall new season in the fall. Yes! Okay, another Max and Hall reference, guys. Yes, I watched the episode already. I watched it this morning at 7 a.m. because I'm an insane person, but mostly because I thought I could do my stream earlier in the evening. If I did that, I ended up not doing that. So that was kind of null and void. But, Marlo, I will be talking about Max and Hall in depth when it comes back because I really enjoy that show. When Steven and Conrad meet in the house, I was screaming tell him about Cabo. No, the whole episode, anytime Steven was on screen, I was like, oh, he's about to find out about Cabo. There was even a mention at the bar about Cabo because Redbird can't shut up about Cabo. And Steven doesn't hear it because he's focused on Taylor. Steven, I need you to get your head in the game. Now that you get your girl back, I need you to focus and help your sister out and help your best friend Conrad out, not your best friend Jeremiah. Okay, because he sucks. Jeremiah is too unlikable to get a spinoff. Please not a Jeremiah spinoff. Oh, guys, I'm so behind in the chat. Oh, my goodness. Please not a Jeremiah spinoff. That's killing me. I think at first I thought, oh, it'll be like Joey, like the spinoff they tried to do for Friends. But I don't think that's a fair comparison. I wouldn't insult Joey in that way. Spinoff of him going on a Barney Stinson type arc might be interesting. Yeah, it just becomes like Jeremiah dating until he like finds somebody to be with, and it's Redbird the whole time. I don't know. My favorite thing about Conrad when he's talking to Steven is that Conrad doesn't throw Jer under the bus with Cabo because Conrad doesn't. Yes. Oh my God, Georgia snaps for that because yes, he doesn't want Steven after last episode when Steven was like, he's nice to my grandma. He's a spare key to my apartment. Like he comes to my Thanksgiving. Like Conrad doesn't want to ruin the image of Jeremiah in Steven's mind. He realizes that that's not his business. And see, this is where I'm like, all of them need to go to therapy and realize, wow, Conrad, for the situation you were in, Conrad, you handled things well for the first time ever. But all these people are too crazy and unhealthy to realize it. But like, will it be enough to have them together for a single episode? Literally, if they look at each other and The Way I Loved You played, it will be enough for me. I'm being so serious right now. If that song plays, I'll have won. Which I shouldn't be letting go. I really want to see them like together, like kiss, I love you, blah, blah, blah. But if that song plays and they look at each other and there's maybe like even a cut to like the way she looked at him at the dead ball, it'll be enough. It'll be enough. It will be enough because that scene, to me, I'm going to be so honest with you, one of the greatest needle drops and romantic moments in potentially cinema. I mean, this is a TV show, so maybe in television, but that moment is so iconic to me that I feel like if you even just like get a little close to that sun, you know what I'm saying? You'll be good. We already hate Jeremiah. They didn't need an episode for us to understand how annoying and trashy he was. Truly. We were already on the anti-Jeremiah train. Oh my God, wait. Marco. Marco, thank you so much for the super chat. Marco says, I'm a binger as well. I feel watching in a day. Yes, I binged the entire first season in a day. There are only 8 episodes, and they were much shorter than these have been. They were closer to 40 minutes, so it was very doable. But Marco, thank you so much for the super chat. It means the world to me. I really appreciate you being here, and especially coming from shorts, because I know that's probably like the hardest conversion is from like short form vertical to like long form live stream. Just listening to me yap, but I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. This was so sweet. I really appreciate it. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad we have fellow bingers in the chat. Honestly, guys, the chat being full, I haven't even pulled out my iPad to start looking at the episode again. You guys have been touching on everything. This is a thrill. Also, we've hit like over 100 concurrent viewers, which is huge. Huge, guys. The Summer Turned Pretty fan base. I owe you guys the world. I really do. Paula says, from the first time Belly revealed she was dating Conrad, Jeremiah started trash talking his brother and saying he'd break her heart. Yes, there was another parallel. I saw it on Instagram. I almost put it on my story, but I realized, you know what? No, a lot of people haven't watched the episode. I'm going to avoid spoilers on Instagram. Also, I'm trying to avoid Bachelor in Paradise spoilers on Instagram right now. So I'm trying to avoid it until tomorrow. That's when I'm going to have time to watch it. But in this episode, Belly, when she says to Jer, like, does it make you hate me? Whatever. And he says, like, oh, a little bit. Whereas when Belly asked Conrad the same thing in the first season, Conrad says, wait, I screwed that up. When Belly asks Jeremiah, do you hate me? Jeremiah says, a little bit. When she asked Conrad in season 1, he said, who could ever hate you? Stop. I love Conrad Fischer so much. You will never make me not like him, show. And you will never make me like Jeremiah. The thing about Sarah and Taylor is they kind of bothered me is that they were unfaithful to each other, to other people, and yet they were super judgmental. Yes! This is what I spoke about. I am not here for people being like, oh, Conrad, you're going to confess your undying love for Belly? Shut up. You guys cheated. Also, I did find it interesting when they were having the conversation in the cafe in Paris, when they were having drinks, when Belly's like explaining the story and she's like, oh, do you guys think I'm a horrible person? And they were all like, oh no, we've all done like way worse things than date 2 brothers, which was kind of funny because when the one girl was saying like that she dated married guys, I was like, that's an interesting ethical dilemma. Like, is it worse for Belly to have dated 2 brothers or for this random Parisian girl to have dated married men? I'm not going to make that judgment call because I think both are probably not great and not advisable in the real world. But it was an interesting thought. It was an interesting question. But I do agree with you that I do think Steven and Taylor, but I do think they grew and they realized that was wrong and they haven't really been with anybody else the whole season. So I feel like they've, in my book, repented for their fictional sins. So I'm gonna give them a pass on it. But Paula says, I just hope the next episode shows Conrad happy. Yes, because it's tiresome to watch him be treated like everyone's punch bag. You're so right. I want to see him defending himself and smiling. I want to see him happy too. I kind of hope we get to see Agnes again because I do think their friendship was really wholesome. And I think it would be important to see her again. Also, do you guys think we'll see Denise again? Or no? You think it's just going to be implied that her and Steven are working on this game together? Because it's kind of not super relevant for them to be working on their game anymore, I guess, for the show. Like, that could just, like, overnight disappear, whatever. But I don't know. Siobhan says, I totally agree with you about the anger towards Conrad was not right. I also think Jer went for Belly because he was in competition. Always, always. I do think he unexpectedly fell for her, and I do think he had real feelings for her. But I do think a lot of those feelings were driven by an inferiority complex, and I don't think that Jeremiah ever felt for Belly the way that Conrad feels about Belly. I do think that is true. But I do think that they, I think what was interesting is this season, they kept referring to each other as their best friend, which is obviously like a beautiful part of a marriage. Like, my husband is my best friend. So like, I completely get that. but I think it was never like he's the love of my life and my best friend. It was always he's my best friend and nothing else, which I do think is like indicative of their relationship. And it's almost like perfect, right? It's like, oh no, people say like marry your best friend, and that's what we're doing. Like we've known each other our whole lives, we're marrying each other. But it's like, that doesn't mean you guys are right for each other in a marriage, you know? I do think Jeremiah ended up with Redbird Sheila. Everything I've seen, people are saying, oh, per Jeremiah, but honestly, no. He literally has taken no responsibility or he mothered. Yes, honestly, say he's justified in getting mad at Belly. Say he's justified in being rude to Stephen and Taylor. Say that he's justified in being difficult to Conrad. Him being rude to Laurel, no, not called for. Not called for at all. Siobhan, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Guys, this is so sweet. I really do appreciate you guys coming from my summer I turned pretty content. Like, it means the world to me. I think Jer saw Belly as a glorified trophy, and without her, what would he worship? Period. Play the Sabrina Carpenter song. Jer treating Belly like a child with his favorite toy. Yes! When Taylor said that about Conrad, and oh, you just pull him out and play with her because she's your favorite toy. No, wrong brother. That's what Jeremiah does. 100%. In this episode, he was ready to take her back. And then the minute she was like, I think I need some space, he was like, never call me again. Blah, blah, blah. I hate him. Hope we see Steven start to shift his attitude toward Conrad. Agreed. I would also I do think that was an important piece that he didn't find out about Cabo until maybe he and Taylor get back together. And then maybe they can kind of, over time, forgive Conrad for whatever indiscretions they feel he has, but whatever. Whatever. Also, I think that some of them want to be mad at Belly and they just weren't being mad at Belly before, but whatever. How are they going to get into 2 episodes? Jer Conrad, Belly Taylor. I don't think Belly and Taylor really need to reconcile. I think they've had way worse fights in the show, and I think that was just like a moment of honest best friend to best friend thing. Plus, with best friends, I feel like sometimes it's like a understood forgiveness. But I do think we'll get that next episode with Belly and Taylor, because Taylor's going to go to Paris, or at least be somewhere with Belly for New Year's where there's a, in French, Happy New Year sign. Kids finding out Laurel John together, Belly in Paris, Belly and Conrad's letters, Belly and Conrad's together, Belly. I think they have time. I think they have time, especially if you tell me that they have an hour and a half episodes. They 100% have time. I think that they can make a lot of the Paris stuff a montage, and I don't think that they're going to really force us to sit through the Benito thing that long. And I think if they do the time shifts that I think they're going to do, the letters and Jer and Conrad over time getting back together, and or Laurel and John, kind of makes more sense. I think so. I will be making a t-shirt, shut up Jeremiah, no one likes you. When you make one, Rebecca, please make one for me, because I would wear that on the stream. Oh my gosh. Huge shout out to Marco again. Just got back to this comment in the chat feed, but that's so amazing. It's just a competition for Jeremiah. He never once asked if Belly is okay this episode or says he is worried about her. One of the first things Conrad says, is she okay? That's because Conrad is a man. That's all I have to say. The day after the fireworks, Jeremiah used Nicole to yes, he schemed in season 1. This is true to his character, at least for the show. I get if maybe people felt wronged in the book, but they have done a good job of making this part of his character from season 1. To some extent, too, this is how Susannah was. Like, Susannah was a little schemy. At times, she really was. But yeah, he did. He manipulated that situation. Yeah. I really hope Belly gains perspective and realizes how manipulative and immature Jer is. I don't need her to hate Jer because I do think there's going to be a part of her that's always going to feel a little guilty about that situation. But I think that, yeah, her realizing that, like, this was not the right path to go down, but also that she had to experience it. Like, but maybe that she's glad she dodged a bullet there. Have you seen the leaks with Jeremiah in Paris? Hopefully it's brief. Also love the actor who plays Jeremiah, but Team Conrad all the way. I have seen some things, some leaks some photos from behind the scenes, but I have tried to avoid this kind of stuff, to be honest, because I don't want to get my expectations up in my head about the show. 1. 2, there have been other shows, I think Gossip Girl is one of the more famous examples, where they flew out 2 guys and shot scenes with both guys so that when the episode aired, nobody knew who Blair ended up with, I think. I haven't seen Gossip Girl, but I to my understanding, this is accurate information. So I've tried to avoid that kind of stuff, but I have seen a couple things that people have been like, wait, we haven't seen this. Wait, we haven't seen this. And I'm not going to mention what they are because I don't want to spoil things for anybody here, because that is beyond a spoiler. That is like, okay, you got to be, if you look hard enough or you're on Pinterest for long enough, you're going to see what I'm talking about. Like, there was a behind the scenes, I can say it now because everyone here has seen the episode, but there was a behind the scene look at Conrad going to a bar in Cousins that had not yet aired, and it was from this episode when he goes the night of the wedding back from the airport, but none of us knew at the time. So obviously you're not getting the full context of the scene and seeing it actually happen and seeing the story play out. I just didn't want to get an expectation in my head of like, oh, this is gonna happen, and then be sitting there watching the episode either upset that it didn't happen or anticipating it and then it happening and not fulfilling my, you know what I'm saying? So I do know what you're talking about, Sydney, but I have tried my hardest to avoid them. Byron the vampire says, love you, literally just want to see Connie Baby beat with Bells. I prefer her name as Bells. See, I don't like Bells because that's what Jeremiah calls her. I like Belly, but thank you so much for being here, Byron. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad we get to yap about, I love yapping in general, but especially about the show. Siobhan says, I have you beat. I watched the episode at midnight. Okay, let's go. See, 3 a.m. is where it comes out my time, Eastern Standard, and that was not happening. It's not my college Hawkeye days. I don't know. I will tell you guys, I am considering for the finale potentially live streaming when the episode comes out. The problem is just, and I'm gonna be honest with you, if people aren't up watching the finale, then it's just, I don't want to react to the show. I'm gonna have to think about it. I'm not rolling it out, though, for the finale. Definitely not for next week. I think I will wait next week until have my whole day, watch it, whatever. But potentially for the finale, I will wake up at 3 a.m. when it comes out and watch it. If you guys would be there for that stream, let me know. I'm not going to hold you to it, obviously. I'd just love to get, like, a general interest because it is hard to talk to no one on stream. It is extra hard to do it at 3 in the morning or midnight. I've done it before, and it is not the easiest thing. So I don't know, but I'm considering it. I might do it just for the vibes. And then I would still obviously do like a recap the way we've done them now, but we'll see. I feel bad about the poor female characters that will end up pushed to form a couple with Jeremiah so that he doesn't end the series alone. I think he'll end up with Redbird, if anyone. I think so. If you go back literally every time Belly and Jer are about to get in an argument, Belly treats him like, yes, he was never the big spoon, and that tells you everything you need to know. Laurel, you're onto it. You see it. This episode felt like a filler episode. I'm mad. I felt like Paris, the song by Taylor Swift, should have been played. So I liked Priya. I think you're valid in being like a little bit disappointed for this episode. I don't think it was a filler episode because I think to me, a filler episode is like you take it out and the impact of the show is not any different. Whereas like if you took this episode out and say like next episode, like say she and Conrad did get back together, I'd be like, okay, there was no time between, like there was nothing to mourn her and Jeremiah. Maybe I'm making excuses for the show. I do get a little bit of disappointment, and I think Paris will play next episode because Paris is just like a little bit of a more upbeat song. I'll have to look at the lyrics to like really deep dive because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I love this Taylor Swift song, and then it's like I'm depressed but I'm dancing because sometimes I'm just there for the vibes. Okay, I will admit it. Even as a Swiftie, I'm there for the vibes. But You're on Your Own, Kid, to me is so perfect because that's a song literally about like heartbreak and then being like, I can pick myself back up. And I think that's exactly what Belly was doing this episode. And so it also has so many like childhood motifs, which is so important for her leaving this place that has been this safe spot in her entire childhood and throughout her entire life. We better have a good last episode of them together. Again, I don't think we're going to get an epilogue episode, and I'm okay with that. I just want to, see them. I'm kind of thinking maybe them on the beach and then like this love playing again like it did season 1 when they kissed and got back together. Also, I don't think she would have ended season 1 the way that she did, because season 1 had a little bit of elements from all 3 books, so that in case Jenny Han did not get season 2 and a season 3, it'd feel the same conclusion. So I can't imagine that she goes a completely opposite direction for the ending. Conrad is such a better person than me, but when I think about my sister, I get why he does and acts the way he does. But yeah, no, I think any older sibling can sympathize with Conrad on a different level than just like, because you get what it's like to want to be there for your sibling, even when your sibling is like being mean to you. Conrad looks after everyone and no one looks after him. Adam saying you have people who love you and I knew you would lean on them. Well, at the time that Adam was talking about this, Susannah was still alive. There wasn't an issue with, he was talking about not him. Like, he and Jeremiah were fine at that point. He had Belly, he had Laurel, he had Steven, he probably potentially even had John, but Conrad did not. Now, obviously, that wouldn't really apply, but at the time, I think it did. His mom was still alive, so I think I'll give Adam the credit on that one. Priya says, I'm Team Conrad because I really understand him. So I'm excited for episode 10 regardless, and I hope it's so good. They need to make it up. I think a lot's going to happen next week's episode, and I think we're all going to be sitting here and being like, thank God we had a breather, and like, this was important, but ooh, if False God plays again, I don't think they'd repeat it twice in the same season, because it had the same significance both times it played, and I don't think they would repeat it again this season, but I don't know. Who's to say? They could never make me hate you, Conrad. They could never. We're Team Conrad girlies till the end. Marco says, what's been the best song drop in the show so far? For me, it's always going to be The Way I Loved You. But if we're talking specifically about season 3, I think We Can't Be Friends might be. And I know as a Swiftie, that's going to shock a lot of people that it's not anything else, but I just don't think there's been a Taylor Swift. I guess False God was great, but We Can't Be Friends just, it made me appreciate that song in like such a different way, and I think that scene was so impactful for me in the storytelling of that episode, and it literally made me feel euphoric when I saw it. So I think that would be my favorite one of season 3, but of the show, it will always be The Way I Loved You, Taylor Swift. Yes, yep, he says that. Who could ever hate you? I'm sad this is the last season too, but I'm every day I'm starting to feel more and more like a Susannah Laurel spinoff is more and more possible, and that they could go that direction. Paula says 2 moments from the episode that made me laugh. Adam asking who, and Conrad revealing that he prayed. Stop. Don't remind me. Every time I hear something new about Conrad, yes, he literally said he prayed that she would call it off. He prayed that would happen. Yeah, no, they have insane chemistry. Yeah, the moments that made me laugh was when Belly is fighting the guy for her backpack. That was so funny to me. Literally hysterical. I loved that. And then the other one that got, this episode was kind of funny to me. The Adam scene. Was there something else? I don't know. But yeah, no, that her fighting that guy in France. Oh, that killed me. That was so funny. Jeremiah wasn't just difficult to Conrad. He acted like a Disney villain wearing all black and acting smug. No, he literally did. Even the way he tossed the apple. I was like, do you think you're Loki? Because you're not. Can you stop? Can you stop right now? Donatella says, just tune in. So when are we jumping Jeremiah because of his behavior? No, he needs to be put in his place expeditiously. Like, I'm actually going to be more, I don't think I was fully awake this morning to like be as angry as I needed to be about Jeremiah. But boy am I now. Seriously, he needs to be locked away, sent straight to jail. Unbelievable, Jeremiah. Unbelievable. Okay, some people are talking about the leaks. I'm not going to highlight any more stuff about the leaks. Not that you guys can't talk about it, but everyone's been warned about spoilers, but I just don't want to. Yes, I've seen leaks with both brothers in Paris. Belly would have kissed Conrad first if Jared didn't shoot the firework at them. So for him to think Conrad's so, yeah, exactly. You're spot on, Laurel, once again, because every moment between Belly and Conrad that hasn't really happened has been because Jer has manipulated the situation, or Conrad hasn't been honest about his feelings. I'll give that, because in the motel, like, if Conrad had been honest about his feelings, like, maybe it would have gone differently. But when I think about Conrad, that motel by himself, it makes me so sad. After the way Jeremiah treated Belly twice when she isn't with him romantically, first in season 2 and now again. Yes, that's the thing too, right? Like, now I feel like his reaction is at least justified. Like, you almost married her and now this is where you're at, but you also agreed to call it off. So, you know, like, it's not like she totally left you at the altar. Like, he even wanted to be like, yeah, no, I called it off. Okay, bud. But yeah, in season 2, it always made me angry because she basically just tells him, like, hey, like, Conrad and I, like, kissed and, like, we might, like, be together. And he's like, oh, like, this is a pain in my chest. This is a knife to my back. Like, Belly, I can't believe you do this to me, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's so horrible to her. Nope. That's why I want Jeremiah to have a redemption, to be honest, is so that when I watch the show back again, I can be like, oh, here's a redemption. Like, you know, here's Jeremiah's arc, but he gets back. But I don't know if that's true. Rebecca says, also, it'd make me so mad if I found out about my ex talking to my mom. Yes! And also, it's not like that. Yes, she's not his mother, and she's not just Belly's mom either. Like, that's essentially his aunt, or, like, his second mom. Like, that's how Belly looks at. Belly would never speak to Susannah that way. Siobhan says, let's go. I would watch it with all of you on a live stream. Okay, so we got one in for 3 a.m. finale live stream, potentially. Con and Belly kiss by the ocean for the first time, and Jared kisses her in the pool. And what is a pool? It's a substitute for the real ocean. Just saying. Laurel. I've seen a lot of people talking about this, of how, like, Belly and Conrad have a lot of conversations by the pool and Belly's swimming in it, because that's, like, a comfort zone. But all of Belly and Conrad's, like, really important conversations happen on the beach, and, like, their important moments, including their first kiss, are on the beach, because that's, like, this intensity and this, like, uncontrolled thing. Whereas, like, she's kissed Jeremiah in the pool. Yeah. It's good stuff. The show has so much imagery, and, like, again, not a shot at My Life with the Walter Boys, but I've been watching it, and I'm like, I don't know if it's there in the same way that it is for the show. I will still be watching Yeehaw Love Triangle, but yeah. Rebecca says it's 4 a.m. here. Rebecca, is it 4 a.m.? No, it can't be 4 a.m. now, but it did when it released. I think you're sad. I wish they would set a time like HBO did with The House of the Dragon. Yeah, 3 a.m. is crazy for me. I get why it's coming out at midnight, but I kind of wish it came out the way that some of the Marvel shows come out, which is at, like, 9 p.m. at night. Obviously, I wish it was more like 7, but can you imagine if the finale, imagine this is, for legal reasons, a joke, but imagine that this creates world peace, is the finale of The Summer I Turned Pretty season 3, episode 11, premieres at the same time for everyone. Obviously, I'm thinking about it from, like, an East Coast perspective. So, like, that's going to be a completely, like, if it came out at 7, that'd be 4 p.m. for people on the West Coast, if I'm doing my math right. For people in, like, England, like, I saw one woman say that she's from London, and so she watches the show at 8 in the morning. Like, that's ideal. That's great. Anyway, the music this episode was good. Love the first song with Conrad, song with Steven and Taylor. I thought the Beatles song was great. What was the first song with Conrad? I obviously love the 2 Taylor Swift drops. I don't know what the song with Conrad was, but we haven't talked about How Does It End. I guess the song is basically about calling off a wedding or calling off a relationship, and everyone, my favorite line being the empathetic hunger descends, where, like, everyone's like, oh, how are you? Like, what happened? Like, tell me how did you break up? Whatever. And there's, like, a reference to, like, guess who I saw down at the shop, and, like, other people gossiping about this relationship, which is very much what this episode kind of felt like. So I loved that. Conrad's reaction to the wedding being called off. You were laughing. He was like, what? He was kind of, like, hopeful. He was kind of confused. I'm so sad he didn't see her. I kind of wanted him to see her like getting on the plane to Paris, but it kind of worked perfectly the way it did. Oh, that was the line that got me. Who the F is Lacey Barone? That did get me. Donatella says, I like that Taylor and Steven swapped team last minute. I'm hoping Steven come to his senses and apologize to Connie now that they got the context. I agree. Yes, 100% I agree. Conrad getting therapy for himself is everything to me. It is. See, if Jeremiah did the same thing, not only would he be better for himself, but he'd win some more people back to his team. But, yeah. Redbird's actor said he'll appear in both episodes 10 and 11, so the chances of him ending up with Jeremiah isn't 0, but Laura Lake suggests he'd end up with Denise. However, they barely talked. Denise and Jeremiah would feel forced, and I don't think that Denise should have to deal with that. Like, she was subjected to that dance, and I don't see her then being able to be with Jeremiah after that point, but whatever. Siobhan says, I don't think Jared can be redeemed. He is more like his dad. But I did feel like Adam was a little bit redeemed this episode, so I don't know. Maybe you're right, but I love Taylor being kinder to Conrad this episode and having more empathy. Same. I want Taylor and Steven to be friends with Conrad. Yes, I want Conrad to feel support. I want everyone to slowly come back together so that when it's time for Belly and Conrad to get together, not that everyone supports it, but that it's like, oh, it just makes it easy for them. I don't know, but maybe it won't be, but it's interesting too that Jared didn't meet Belly on the beach. Exactly, Michelle. Exactly. He doesn't meet her there. He misses, and she thinks that it's Jeremiah, but it's Conrad the night of his confession. Exactly. I'm talking about the episode was released. Yes, that's what I thought. I recently released the whole season at once. So, okay, I am gonna confess something to you guys, and you might not like it. I do love a good binge at times. I do love binging a show, but there is nothing I love more than having a weekly conversation about a television show. Like, being able to talk with you guys about the show, like, if to be perfectly honest, I was traveling the week that this came out, and the only reason I started watching this season of The Summer I Turned Pretty was because the friend I was traveling with wanted to watch it too, and so we got to like catch up together. Otherwise I would have been like behind for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and I know I didn't start making content about it until a couple weeks ago, but the point I'm trying to make is because this week has come out weekly, can I slow down for a second? Because the show has come out weekly, I've been able to make content about it, talk to friends about it, talk to people at work about it, watch it, enjoy it, like react to it, and like have conversations about it where like everyone is up to the same page, versus like a show I love dearly but I have heard basically no one talk about is The Bear. Season 4 came out, and it came out all at once. And because it came out all at once, like it's not a cultural zeitgeist moment unless something about it really happens. And I think binging like a show being a binge watching show and a must watch show was popular during the pandemic and the post-pandemic times because I think there was a lot less coming out. But now, like, especially right now, like this show is about to coincide with the start of football season. Like football started last weekend, like college football, NFL starts tomorrow. And so like there's going to be 2 more episodes of the show that come out in the middle of sports season, but it's going to be able to be a cultural zeitgeist moment because it's coming out week to week. So I am 100% in favor of weekly releases. Obviously, I get how fun a binge can be, but like I've enjoyed this season a bajillion times more than I would have if I just binged it and like made one video about it and talked about it like one time. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion. I think it's totally valid to want to binge at once because like I'm always dying to see what happens next. But I just like if I had binged her seeing him at the airport and immediately see her like aboard the plane, that's a nothing moment versus having to wait a week to see what happens. Incredible. I would love it to be like the Marvel shows. Agreed. Just for the finale, it would be special. That's what I'm saying. Like just for the finale to be special. Did Belly ever love Conrad? Yes, 100% Belly loved Conrad. See, I am 100% on the team of like Belly genuinely did love Conrad, like even when they were much younger and even in like season 1, and she has this deep, deep love for him and who he is as a person. The problem is, and I think she definitely obviously loved him when they were together, for the couple months in high school they were together, but I think now I do think she has like maybe she's not even fully aware of like how deep her feelings for him are. and I think she's shoved them down for so long, but I do think she does love him. Oh, also, when Conrad gets up and leaves the airport, the person on the TV behind him playing baseball is running a home run. Conrad is on his home run to Belly. He is a winner. Mia, I love that. That's amazing. Wait, I did not notice that. Okay. So many things to appreciate about this show, even when you might be like, oh, this episode didn't have enough Conrad time for me. Like, they make it count. Rebecca says, I 100% agree. I love watching all at once, but the episodes weekly has my heart. It's so much fun having this weekly space to discuss it. Guys, it is so fun. I will say, though, it is almost 10 p.m. my time. I did not bring myself a water into here, and it's getting hot in here, and I'm getting a little bit sleepy. And so I think it's about time to potentially wrap up the stream for the night. There have been over, I'll say 75 of you for the entire night. And I cannot express to you guys what that means to me. Like, seeing people in the stream, in the chat, like, constantly adding their comments, adding questions, like, interacting with each other. It makes me so happy. I have always wanted this YouTube channel to be a space for fans to be able to talk to each other about the shows and movies and books and games and all these things that they love so dearly. And I feel so happy that we've been able to do this for the last, what has it been, 2 weeks now? 3, I guess this was the 3rd week, and we will continue to do it for the finale. I will make sure whatever my finale plans are for the show that you guys know well in advance so we can figure out together, like, if we're doing the 3 a.m. stream or not. But thank you guys so much for watching. Genuinely, truly. I really appreciate you all. Whether you come in at the last moment or are here from before the time the stream starts, it really means a lot to me. And I really appreciate this. Thank you for all the likes, all the views, all the subscriptions, but mostly just for, like, interacting with me about this show because I love it so deeply. And I have a lot of other people I can talk to about it, but being able to, like, have a place for people to talk about it means so much to me. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. All your support, and I will talk to you guys very soon. I'll have more videos coming out tomorrow about this shorts. So, okay, I'm done yapping, I swear, for the night. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.